Was your shop always feeling behind, like guys are standing around, there didn't seem to be material when you needed it, and just everything was not ready when it was time to go do install work? I personally had an experience like this one time when I was working with a company. There was multiple jobs going at one time, and I had guys standing around, and inside my head I was thinking, man, there is a lot to do. Why are people standing around? And what I found out was it was not them, which we tend to jump to a lot, I feel like. As business owners, operators, managers, not so much leaders. I feel like leaders lean more into kind of thinking more people-wise, but managers, ops guys, owners, the ones that are worried about the money, are like, it's a people problem. I got lazy workers. I got guys that aren't willing to work. And what I found out through my experience is that it was actually none of those. It absolutely was not. What it ended up being is they didn't have anything to give them kind of a clear visual or any information transfer. And even just quickly talking about it more in meetings, I found was not really the best, specifically with blue collar. It doesn't mean it's for everyone, but I've found personally, and this put me in the same basket, I do not remember or learn audibly very well. I'm a very visual learner, hands-on. That's kind of why I fell into the trades, because I love it so much. And I was able to learn through action instead of sitting and getting lectured at all day by a teacher. I just was never able to retain anything that way. So whenever we'd have our little debriefs in the morning, and I'd say, this is what's coming up, this is what's going on, even that wasn't quite enough. And again, it wasn't because of laziness. It's just they didn't really know what was going on inside my head or inside of the owner's head of what needed to be done. And so this is what really started to come out glaringly to me was people would stand around. They would go for safe tasks, low cost tasks, and they weren't able to really be preemptive. And then I would get upset at them like, what are you doing? We've got all this stuff. And of course, it was all in my head. So this is when I really started grappling with the fact of why systems need to even be visual to help people operate better. And I'll even compare it to working out. There, you can do work, specifically strength training. You can lift heavier and heavier weights each time you go in and not necessarily even get a bigger muscle. Some of the earlier gains that you have when you're working out are simply just from efficiency. You can go from squatting 200 to 230 fairly quickly within the course of a couple of weeks if you were going from completely never working out to just getting more efficient at doing the lifts. And that's kind of what I was saying is it wasn't so much the guys that needed to be better. I didn't need more guys. I didn't need more professional guys. What I needed was I needed them to be more efficient at what they were doing. Let's go from that 200 squat to up there, whatever it is. Enough of the workout analogies, but that's what it ended up being was I needed it to be more efficient, more understood of what was going on. So what I ended up doing was creating kind of a visual board, and I would put it up for them. Chalkboard worked out great for me. There was two systems actually going though. There was things for them that was kind of a condensed version of priorities for jobs, and then there was one for me that was a lot more detailed. That was what projects are coming due sooner, and the whole gambit of other things. So you really break this video into two portions, depending on how high up the chain you are, if you're full-on manager or owner, or if you're just middle manager. If you're not the top ops guy or owner, you're just the middle manager, there are certain levels of information you have to be aware of. And of course, your workers and your employees need to be the bare minimum of information that doesn't overwhelm them and puts into bite-sized pieces for them so that they will be able to do their job and and not get like, whoa, I got too much, because that will backfire. Don't flood them with too much information. So middle manager, we'll start there. If you're middle manager, the best thing to really do that I found was just having like a chalkboard and being able to write out, okay, these are current projects that are going. And inside of current projects, there's current things that need to be done, listing out certain things. Now, what really helps is if you either have it broke down into, let's say, The very top is high priority, and the farther you go down is less priority. And that way you can convey to people like, hey, we need to start at the top, work our way down, and then write it out that way for them to know, so they know which tasks to be working on, and they know what they need. They know material, they know stuff like that. So that way you're able to get a little bit of ahead. Now, if you're top tier, you probably already have material out in front of them. But I'm just talking, you've gone from nothing to chaos. You're just trying to get something in place. Involve your guys. Let them start seeing the priority list, and then they start attacking it like, hey, we need to order this material for this next thing. Great, I'll get on it. It's not sitting for a week, and then they're like, oh, well, we still don't have the material. We're just waiting. Hopefully your guys will be preemptive enough like, hey, we can't complete this task because we don't have the material, and get them involved in what needs to happen to move this forward. So top down specifically, or color coding. If you got a whiteboard instead of a chalkboard, you're able to use markers. Do something simple. Do something like, red is high priority. Something like green is we're good, but it needs to be done. Blue, it's on hold. We're still waiting on information or something like that. And color code it. Make it so that people know directly what needs to be done, what information they need to know about that, and just keep it simple, because you're still there as a middle manager. You're still there to answer questions and get prints out if there's prints involved, or answer any questions about building something. There's actually just building, like, hey, we need to build this for this, and there aren't any prints involved. You're still there to answer questions, but it's to help facilitate people thinking and asking the right questions. Now, if you're on a more high tier, operations, top tier operations owner, this is where it gets a little bit more detailed. And this is if you have a lot more things involved in, like you're ordering equipment and there's multiple things going out. And this would even kind of be more the line of where you should be seeing the material stuff put out in front of middle manager and down, or in tandem with middle manager. This is where you're really wanting to have a schedule built out for you. Like, okay, this project, we just got these 3 projects, 4 projects, 5 projects all dumped into our lap. What do? You have to find the information that's the most important first, and that information is which project needs to be installed, or where does it fall on the timeline first, and put a priority on timelines. Okay, this project has to be done at this date, and work from there. Once you've built the schedule, then you build out from there. What pieces of equipment have got to be ordered? If some have to be ordered, some larger pieces of equipment have to be manufactured, built, and shipped out for you to go do install. Things like this. This is a higher tier, a lot bigger things. Most smaller shops probably aren't having problems with this, but larger shops, you've got things that are, okay, we're going to have this, brought back to us in 6-8 weeks, 10 to 12 weeks, 20 weeks out. This is all going into play. So you need to get that fleshed out. And that's where you really have to start delving into where are you at with each item? Where are you at with the equipment? Has it been approved? Is it getting built? Great. Going on from there. Then you have to have priorities on what material to order. You do not want to order or get with your middle manager, let your middle manager order all the material for all 5 projects. That is a nightmare for keeping up, at least if you're trying to keep track. A simple system that I put into place that I like to use most often is having if you have basic things that you use, basic materials, the common materials you use over and over and over again, try keeping certain lengths or quantities of that stored up so that you can pull from that and then restock it and attach that to the job that you're actually pulling it from. And that way there's always material on hand for the project, not too much, just enough to get started, so that when you do order material, it gives you a day or 2 buffer of, hey, my guys can be working on this with the material on hand while I'm replenishing my stock and charging it to the job that they pulled it from to actually work on. It has been a phenomenal system. But that way you don't just get dumped a bunch of things all into the yard. And it's like, what is all this material for? And that's a whole nightmare. I can make a whole video on just material handling and how it's tracked. So just a quick little extra for you, I guess you'd say. So once you have those in place, people are starting to build, then you now can be passing it on staging and all that stuff. But higher tier is more looking at which jobs, what equipment, where are we at, and when's it going to be installed. And then that information needs to be able to relay down and have systems in place read down to your middle managers where they can take that information and really line out your crews and your employees on what needs to be built and ready for when the install comes. So hopefully that helps. That kind of just give you a little bit of ideas. You really want to be focusing on these things is when a job comes in, how's it being completed, how's the information and priority being conveyed from top level all the way down to bottom level. That's the main point of this whole video, is start looking at creating systems. Simple, like I told you, a whiteboard would work perfect, chalkboard, whatever it is, but you've got to figure out ways, almost even a order of operations on, we got a job, now what? What is something that we're going to do? What are we going to be more efficient at? Like I was talking about with the working out, we can lift way heavier weights, and if we just get efficient and we don't have to change anything for manpower, we don't have to get more guys, we don't have to have different guys. The same core group that you have that's operating now can be way more efficient, and you can be pulling twice the load that you used to before if you have same exact systems in place. When this happens, this happens in this order. When this happens, this order, and then have those to where the reps are easy, sets are easy, everything's easy, because it's like, this is what we do. It's almost muscle memory. If you get muscle memory in your business, you're doing great. I'd say you are doing better than most at that point. And from there, just clarifying priorities so everyone's on the same page. They can start thinking outside of, I'm just here for a job. And you're always going to have employees like that. You really will. But some of your higher performers, you don't want to alienate your higher performers. Allow them to get involved cognitively, and that's going to help. If they know what the priority is, they know what they're trying to achieve, you can let them rip, and they're really going to impress you with what they're able to do and what they're able to solve on their own. And you realize you're not the bottleneck and don't have to be the bottleneck. You'll be reclaiming a lot more of your time if you trust and supply your people with the right systems to be able to operate in that capacity. And I will continue to preach that, because I believe that 100%. Most people are more capable of doing things beyond what you think they are if you just tool them right. You can trust people more. I don't care how many times you've been burnt. I've been burnt hundreds of times. Hundreds and hundreds of times I've been burnt over and over and over again, but I will continue to trust in people as long as they have the information and the systems, the material, and the wherewithal to be able to do it. They will impress you, but you have to be the one providing that for them, because otherwise they have no idea what's going on. They're just there for the job, and they will continue to stand around or do low risk tasks to stay busy because they don't know otherwise. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's just a hot run through of really an experience that I had with multiple jobs and why it seemed to be falling apart, and hopefully the idea helps you out.